I actually don't have the agenda in front of me, Madison. Can you just flip it to me? Well, you know what? It's probably on my, just give me 1 second. I'm sure it's been,
We can email it to you.
I'm just looking at the email here. I don't see a PDF.
Yeah, we can flip it over.
And just flip it over to me.
Yeah, and we are live to YouTube just for everyone's information.
And we're just waiting for Councillor Shoemaker then. Is that the only person that's we're expecting to attend that has not yet attended?
That's correct.
Okay. Just give me a second to get the agenda from Rachel here. Rachel, what phone did you send that to? My mayor.provenzano or Christian.provenzano?
Which do you prefer?
Mayor.provenzano works.
Okay, I'll send it right this sec. There it goes.
I'm not receiving anything on my mayor.provenzano. Can you send it to my Christian@provenzano law?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't want anybody waiting longer. I don't have it, but that won't stop me from going. Councillor Shoemaker, you're with us, I assume?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, so I don't have the agenda in front of me. The first item is besides approval, is the second item on the agenda electing a chair, Madison?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So just we'll just need a motion to approve the agenda as it is before us.
Yeah, I'll move that.
Seconded by Councillor Shoemaker, all in favor. So move to the second item. I don't have, I asked council, either of you, if either of you want to chair this committee, you're welcome to. I certainly would have no objection to that. If you'd like me to chair it, I can continue to do that, but we would need to sort that out now. Councillor Shoemaker, do you have any desire to chair it?
Honestly, I think it probably makes the most sense if you do it.
Okay. Councillor Dufour felt the same way, so we'll just have you move that. Councillor Dufour seconded. All in favor?
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Okay, so we did the agenda. We already approved the agenda. So does anybody have an interest, a pecuniary interest they'd like to declare? See none.
Not for me.
Thank you. We have a consolidated copy of the bylaw on our agenda, and then we have an overview from staff. So have both of you had an opportunity to review that? Councillor Dufour, Councillor Shoemaker?
Yes.
Yeah, I sent in a handful of emails earlier in the week, but I'm happy to talk about what they said as we get to it.
Yeah, I don't. Did you copy me on those?
No, just Rachel and Malcolm. Or maybe just Rachel. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't receive them. So probably best thing to do before we get to that, I'll just ask if Rachel or Malcolm want to offer any comments, and then we can kind of take any comments you have, Councillor Shoemaker.
Yeah, I don't believe I got copied on those as well, but Rachel would have them, and Councillor Shoemaker is going to speak to them in any event. That's fine. I think probably committee-wise, you just start proceeding down what has been provided from clerks as far as notes from staff.
Okay, thank you. Rachel, you have nothing additional you're looking to offer before
No,
we do this?
Do you want me to just walk through both my memo from January 7 and February 9 and discuss it as we go, or how
No.
would you like to?
No, I don't think so. If I mean, I've read it all. I think Council Dufour has indicated he has, Council Shoemaker has too. So we don't need you to go through it with us. What I'll do is I'll just take any kind of questions or comments from either of them, and then we can move forward. So Council Shoemaker, I'll start with you. I don't have the benefit of your emails. I don't believe Council Dufour does, and Malcolm certainly doesn't. So take it from the top and go through whatever you want to go through.
Yeah, I don't know what order they came in that memo, but there were a couple of things. First, on the terms of the committees, I noticed that our current committee terms end December 31st, and that I think made sense when the new term of council started early December. But given that we're starting in November now, I wonder if it makes more sense for the terms of committees to end on November 30th. But open to thoughts on that.
I don't know, Councilor Shoemaker, it would strike me that the calendar year still makes more sense. Malcolm?
Just a couple things on that. Process-wise, after the inaugural meeting of the new council, the first business council is where if the new council keeps the same process, they would have to appoint a nominating task force or the council representation on that task force. And then that committee would have to do its work in presenting a slate of nominations. So I think it's still going to take a certain amount of time. I think you may be able to appoint the boards and committees. It's possible that you can do it that business meeting in December. But even if you're formally doing it, then it's just allowing maybe a couple of weeks from that meeting till the end of the calendar year. I think I would probably leave things the same, at least for the upcoming nominations and appointments by the new council. And perhaps the new council can look at whether there should be changes to the terms. I think Rachel has a comment as well.
Yeah, Madison reached out to some of our colleagues to see what their processes were, because everybody's facing this with the change to the council term. And one of them had that committee appointments expire at the end of a council term or until such time as a successor is appointed. And we thought that might cover it off so that you've got the flexibility if we've got the time for the board and committee nominations.
That would seem to make sense to me.
Yeah, I think that I agree that's sensible.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, should we want to make that adjustment then? Rachel's taking notes. Matt, Luke, you think we'll make that adjustment?
Yeah, I'm in favor.
I would think so.
Okay. Okay. Very well. Okay, Councilor Shoemaker, your next item?
Yeah, the next one was they talked about the nominating committee, and I just sent an email at some point to Rachel saying I think technically that is a nominating task force, because I'm pretty sure staff vote on that. So just formally recognizing it as such, I think, is important, so that no one says that, you know, that they should be allowed to come to it eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, to make sure you're complying with the open meeting rules.
Yeah, we're just going to change that wording so that it's, instead of board and committee nominating committee, it will say board and committee nominating task force.
Yeah. Okay, Councilor Shoemaker, you got something else?
Yeah, I think this might be the last one, although I'll double check. persons being permitted to come within the horseshoe. There was a question about it on Rachel's summary. She said, should it be without the permission of council, bracket, or permission of the head, question mark? And I thought that there was a medium or a middle ground there that suggests that the mayor has the discretion to permit someone to come into the horseshoe if necessary, provided there's no objection raised by council. If there was, it'd have to be a majority of council to decide on it. It's a relatively unlikely scenario, but you never know when these things arise.
Yeah, that's Councilor Dufour. Do you have any comment on that?
I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah. No, I don't either. No, that's reasonable. So did you make that note, Rachel?
Yes, I did.
Councilor Shoemaker, did you have anything else?
I think, yeah, I think that was it. Yep.
Councilor Dufour, did you have anything?
I just have a couple quick questions, if that's okay, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, it is. Go ahead, for sure.
My first question, there is a change in language discussing closed confidentiality. I was wondering, is there any reference to any kind of consequence mechanism for when closed confidentiality is breached, or is that covered by the code of conduct? And if so, does it make sense to refer to the code of conduct in that portion of the bylaw?
We'll start with Rachel on that. Then Malcolm, if you have anything to add, you're welcome to.
Malcolm, I think we refer to it in code of conduct, do we not?
I think Malcolm's on mute there.
Which item was it on what you had provided, Rachel?
But I'm just trying to, I know it was on the January 7 originally.
7 under rules of procedure. Where a matter has been discussed in camera and where the matter remains confidential, a member shall not disclose the content of the matter or the substance of the deliberations of the in-camera meeting. It's just under the.
Yeah, you're wondering, Councilor Dufour, if we should be explicit in the procedural bylaw about the consequences of that. It is a code of conduct breach. Malcolm, I think it's fair for me to say that.
Yeah,
that's clear. So the question you have, Councilor Dufour, if I understand it correctly, is should we not specifically enumerate that? Like, would there be value in saying if that's a code of conduct breach?
Yeah, I'm just asking the question because then if it's a code of conduct breach rather than a bylaw breach, it's obviously investigated and handled by the integrity commissioner. Is that correct?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
I certainly have no objection to being explicit about the consequences of breaching caucus confidentiality. I don't think there's a harm in that. I don't see any problem with it, being enumerated in the procedural bylaw. Councilor Shoemaker,
Reference that it's a violation of code of conduct as well.
Yeah, I think we can put some language in there just to be pointed about the fact that if it is breached, it's a code of conduct issue. Councilor Shoemaker, do you have any concerns about that?
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
And then my last question is concerning, there's language about any member who is absent for 3 straight months, the seat shall be deemed vacant. Now, is it council, the clerk, or the chair of that committee that deems that seat vacant?
The reason we included that language was really because it's already applies to members of council through the Municipal Act, but we wanted to clarify to for committee members that also applies to committee members in the same way that it does to council.
Okay, does it apply to councilors outside of specifically council meetings to committees as well? I'm just asking for my own edification here. I didn't realize.
It would apply to any committee member, whether they're a councilor or not.
Okay.
So, but I think the question still that we have to answer for Councilor Dufour is,
What's the enforcement mechanism?
yeah, like who declares it vacant and who says that's vacant now?
Yeah.
Is it the respective board or is it council?
I'd have to look at it again. I think it isn't it, Rachel, that it would be automatic through the statute unless council or the board and committee specifically authorizes
The
an
absence.
extended absence.
That's correct. And
Yeah,
when
but
we
that's for
had
us.
that,
That's for us on council. So if one of us misses 3 consecutive meetings without proper regrets or going through the statutory process to preserve the seat, it's vacant. But I think let's just take like, you know, an appointment we make. If we're applying that to the appointments, how does that get vacated? Does it then, is there, how does that board know that that person's seat is vacated? Do they vacate it? Do we vacate it? I think that's the heart of what he's trying to get to here.
what
How do we
has
enforce that?
happened, because we have had boards and committees operating that same way, and we wanted it clarified here. But what has happened is the staff liaison will email that member to say, or contact them to say, you have been absent for this long, and this will go before the committee to say, does the committee want to pass a resolution saying notwithstanding, or the seat will be considered vacant.
Okay, yeah, because I think it just creates an awkward situation for chairs to be responsible to censure one of their peers, essentially, right? And yeah, I guess I'm just looking for clarity with what the proper procedure to follow to ensure that our procedural bylaw is being respected. So it sounds like what we're saying is that the staff liaison of that particular committee would be the one monitoring attendance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if can I don't know if I am
Yeah,
jumping here.
Go ahead, Councilor Shoemaker. You're probably gonna ask a question that I'm gonna ask anyway.
Yeah, I mean, what's the mechanism to vacate it? I think is the crux of still what remains unanswered. Like, does a resolution come to council that the seat be vacated?
Well,
And
I think,
perhaps it should.
well, I think, well, it seems like that it's our procedural bylaw, right? So I don't think it's our appointment, it's our procedural bylaw. It says it in our procedural bylaw. So it's I'm having a hard time getting my mind around how we wouldn't be actively involved in confirming that vacancy as a council, right?
Unless we maybe delegated authority or something.
Yeah, so like if you have a board and they have that, I think really the proper course would probably be that like those appointments we make are subject to the people going to the meetings. And if they miss the 3, then they could lose their appointment. There could be a bona fide reason why they missed the 3. So like in the end, I think staff checking with them and the board and saying, hey, is this going to continue? Do you want to stay on this board? Is a proper process. But I think in the end, if the board says, no, you know what, we want a new person because we need the participation, I think it has to come back to council to confirm it vacant and to reappoint it.
Okay, we can add words to that effect.
See what I'm saying, Malcolm?
I do. I was just looking up the statutory reference to see if that's going to inform us at all as to how it's dealt with at the council level.
Yeah, I think for us, it's us as counselors and city councilor meetings, it's really clear. I think what it's our appointments and how it applies to our appointments. I think after the 3 vacancies, it comes back to us. Sorry, after the 3 vacancies, after the 3 absences, it comes back to us.
Given that council makes the appointments, that makes sense.
It seems to me. So I think to Councilor Dufour's point, that needs some more clarity in our procedural bylaw. So maybe I can ask staff to work on that and send us some proposed language.
We'll look at that. I've just pulled it up on the Municipal Act. So council, in the case of a council member missing 3 successive months, council has no role in declaring the seat vacant. The seat would automatically become vacant, save council passing a resolution authorizing the absence be extended. So that, but to your points, because it's our procedure bylaw and it's when we're talking about board and committee appointments, there's a little more nuances there. So we need to take that back and develop some wording.
Yeah, all I'm really looking for here, Malcolm, is just a clear vision of the process and the zone of responsibility for enforcement of that mechanism. What I wouldn't want to see is a seat, according to the statute, being declared vacant, but because nobody takes any action or flags anything and nobody knows whose role it is, that member continues along the assumption that they're still a voting member, right?
Yeah. Certainly from staff's respect, we would always see the staff role in monitoring attendance and advising both the member affected and the body
Exactly.
affected of the circumstances and what needed to be done to cure it.
Oh, look at that.
I figured if I was holding them, they might there might be some interest in at least seeing them.
Is he a big boy?
He's pretty husky, yeah.
Yeah, he looks like he's a substantial for sure. Yeah, that's great. Looks lively.
Oh yeah, for sure. He was
hope.
staring attentively when Malcolm was talking. So
Yeah.
Malcolm has that effect on all of us.
Yeah. It's the cadence of Malcolm's voice.
That's right. Oh, there you go.
Oh, God bless you, little guy. Okay. So thanks, Councilor Dufour. I think we covered Councilor Shoemaker's matters. We covered your matters. I've already discussed kind of. I'm satisfied with it. I've discussed it with Malcolm and Rachel and Madison, so I've got nothing more to canvass. What do you need from us, Rachel, to move forward?
The only thing I need direction as to, because we didn't really have a recommendation about delegations, just things we asked the committee to consider. Including the time limit for delegations. I think those were the only things I needed.
I was comfortable with all of the material you provided with respect to delegations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Councilor
didn't see any problems. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was constructive. And I thought it was good that you clarified the digital delegations, although I hope very deeply that we're not digital for a whole lot longer.
And
Just looking at it, Mr. Mayor and Councilors Dufour and Shoemaker, there was the one note that the committee should consider having no delegations on information reports. So we just like that.
But do
the
we?
thoughts confirmed. We don't normally consider that. So, but we don't have it codified.
You're kind of codifying that practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we generally don't take delegations when something's just in front of council for information and not for a decision.
Yes.
I don't mind codifying that because it's not our practice to do that. Councilor Shoemaker, Councilor Dufour?
Yeah, I guess that seems as a general rule fine. Is there always the discretion to approve a delegation? But
there's always the discretion of council to approve someone speaking.
yeah, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement as well, and I like seeing the procedure for petitions codified the way that it is, and not debating the subject material, but referring for a report, which can then be debated. I think that's it's a constructive way to handle those.
Okay.
The only other thing I was going to mention when Madison and I were reviewing it this morning, when we're talking about a person who is making a request to appear with respect to an item on the agenda, that we should put a deadline for that request to 10 a.m. so that that appeal process that we have there, that they've got the opportunity then by noon to appeal to members of council to reconsider that decision, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Monday at 10 a.m. You mean, right?
That's what we thought would kind of meet because the agenda isn't public till Friday morning. It gives the public that opportunity to make the request without overburdening clerks on the day of a council meeting.
Yeah, I would just suggest, Rachel, the day of the meeting and not refer to the actual
Yes, that's
calendar
actually
day,
what I had
just
written
because
down. Yeah.
sometimes we have meetings on other days.
That makes sense to me.
I'm fine. I'm fine with it. What do I do here? There we go.
And the only other thing that I had put in that was to consider was the ability of the committee where a person is requesting to delegate or make a delegation who's likely to engage in unreasonable or offensive conduct, make unreasonable or offensive statements or demands, repeatedly speak on a subject matter that is not within council's jurisdiction, or otherwise misuse the privilege of addressing council. The person will not be permitted to appear before council. We got that from one of our colleagues and thought that was useful to actually lay it out.
Presuming you would be able to assess that ahead of time, right? Like you might well not be in a position to determine that's the case. So, you know, I have, what municipality uses that?
Burlington.
Yeah. In any event, in the end, we generally don't kind of accept delegations for matters that aren't on the agenda or that aren't really in our jurisdiction. So I have no issue with, you know, obviously codifying and making it clear what the policy is. You know, and if somebody was in our rules of procedure, you can't speak kind of in an inappropriate way. It's not permitted. So whether that's a delegate or not, you know, the chair would be able to kind of stop that engagement. I don't know how you'd be able to anticipate that though credibly or determine that was going to happen prior to it happening.
I think, given that it's from Hamilton, I think they had some big kerfuffle with a white supremacist or a white supremacist group that wanted to talk and made a big stink of it. So I see why it's in theirs. I mean, nothing really wrong with codifying it, but we haven't had that experience. Doesn't mean we won't in the future.
Hmm. Well, right, you know, I don't have a strong feeling on it, Rachel. I don't know that it's necessary for us, but I don't see any harm in it. But in any event, part of it seems redundant to me because we wouldn't let anybody address council like that in any event, or at least I mean I wouldn't.
Because the chair could, if you don't anticipate it, the chair can still shut it down. For
sure. Like if somebody starts speaking in an inappropriate way or an offensive way, like the chair ultimately. There's a rule in the bylaw that prohibits that kind of engagement, and the chair can declare it out of order and like absent counsel saying, no, we want to hear from this person, the person wouldn't be able to continue.
Yeah, I'm happy with leaving the things the way that they are now. I think it provides a good balance having agenda review make their judgment on a delegation and then council having an opportunity to have it canvassed on appeal. I don't know that we need to go much further to say, like, start guessing at people's potential hypothetical behavior. You know, if anything, I think it puts our procedural bylaw in a position where, you know, it's probably open to criticism that's not really warranted by our behavior or by the bylaw. That's my opinion. I think we should just leave it as we have it.
Yeah, so I don't feel like that's going anywhere then, Rachel. Okay, so I don't think we should pass the bylaw until we get it in its final form, right?
So actually just going to ask you that perhaps we prepare a draft bylaw and have this committee meet once more to review it and then recommend to council. That's what
I'd like to do. Yeah, like you take what we said today, your comments, put the bylaw back together, send it to us, and we'll review it again, and we would meet again to approve it. And then we would recommend it to council.
Okay, and we have, if that's everything, we have a motion to briefly go into closed.
Yep. Councillor Dufour, if you move that, Councillor Shoemaker can second it.
Yep.
All in
So
favor?
it's a resolution that the committee move into closed session to discuss items subject to solicitor-client privilege.
Yeah.
Okay, that was moved by Councillor Dufour, seconded by Councillor Shoemaker, and we're all in favor.